Hey, how you doing? Hey, it's Brainsmasher here today, giving you what you want from the vault. We're going back to the baseline, into the collection. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for watching. And just a reminder, you don't fucking have to watch my videos. It's a free country. So in the background, what you're hearing, I'm really turning a page tonight, is the 92 rehearsal demo of Ungod. These songs were featured on the Circle of the Seven Infernal Pacts debut full length in 93, but this is the rehearsal demo 92, released as a split CD with their side project Boxa Zoxa, or Bazazaza, however you wanna. I wholly endorse both pronunciations of the band. Boxa Zoxa or Bazazaza. Ungod fucking rules. I put in a couple of these releases in this pile tonight to reacquaint myself with some of it so that I wouldn't just be spewing the same old bullshit. And I'm really excited. let's just get right into it. I talked about this very recently, so it doesn't need revisiting all that much, but Funeral Storm, Arcane Mysteries, my buddy Dave sent me this a couple of weeks ago. Super great Greek Hellenic black death metal on Hell's Headbangers. Features the singer of Varathron on there. And if I remember correctly, this last song, Flowers of My Youth, has an asterisk on the back side of it. And I cannot find what the asterisk is referring to. Because, and I was curious because I was like, is that a cover? It isn't listed in the lyric sheet. I felt like a song with the title Flowers of My Youth didn't really fit well on this record. And I'm just very curious, what is the story behind that? So I'm definitely going to sit here and waste all your fucking time while I look for this fucking asterisk in the video. Anyways, it's a really killer release that you should be checking out. I hope I see this on at least one year-end list, but those things are fucking dumb anyways, so let's move on. Yeah, I put this in Funereal Moon. This is called Luciferian Symphonies of Destruction. 10 years of audio blasphemia. So, I feel like most people are probably more familiar with the image of this guy than they are with the music of his band. He's just kind of infamous, maybe kind of a meme-y sort of black metal guy for having the upside down crosses over his eyes or whatever. And man, I've had this in my collection for 14 years now, and I never pick it up. And in fact, I bought a Funereal Moon album out of some cutout bin distro maybe a year or two ago. I listened to it once and I just immediately gave it to my buddy. And this sucks. This is some best of compilation, 10 years kind of thing. I don't remember hating this as much as I did when I just put this in. But this is one of those bands where I feel like they take the Satanism way too seriously, and it's just a bunch of fucking spoopy, oogie boogie, boogity intros and hardly any metal. Not that that's required, but there is just, it is devoid of any musical substance whatsoever. I would be hard pressed to find a moment of listening on this album that isn't a complete waste of time. Just telling you how it is. So here's something I hadn't listened to in a really long time. I popped this in to reacquaint myself. Gianaris Nocturnal with pure satanic blasphemy. There was a minute when this band's debut came out. This is their debut. I was fucking obsessed with this band. Just coming out of the 90s and into the 2000s, I was really, and like, this is around the turn of like when Napster and Audio Galaxy could just give you anything, and you could just go out there and explore the nether sphere and download anything that you dreamed of. I really got into Finnish black metal, and back then, you know, Horna, Baptism, Behexen, all that kind of stuff was just starting to really take hold. And so these guys, like, they really shit the bed really quick after their debut. But this is really killer, speedy as fuck, probably 200 BPM maybe, and for 20 years ago, that's pretty damn fast. It is just absolutely chaotic, barbaric, satanic Finnish nightmare. These guys were doing it fucking right. But as far as shitting the bed, I don't really remember what their second album sounded like, but I just remember thinking, this is pure garbage. Fuck, these guys are dead to me. But this debut is pretty goddamn serious. As far as aesthetics, I would say they remind me quite a bit of France's Seth, who I think are now active again. And I recently discovered, oh, my fingers are dirty. Recently discovered that some French label, Les Acteurs something are releasing a live album of Seth where they played the Les Blessures de Lama album. That's French. I'm speaking it with a Spanish accent. Anyways, that's another band that's not Furia and Nocturnal. This is good shit. I wouldn't bother comparing them to other country mates, honestly. I wouldn't say they sound all that much like Orna or Baptism or Sargeist, for that matter. Sargeist came a little bit later than those bands, but I think really of all the early 2000s Finnish ilk, Gianaris Nocturnal is like the fastest, most vicious one of them all. I would also say a comparison to Frozen Shadows is pretty apt. Check that out. It's good shit. Next we've got Gianaris, Return to Sludge. This is John McEntee with his wife and the drummer from Morpheus Descends playing really good death metal. John McEntee, if you don't know, is an Incantation. For what it's worth, I like this more than Incantation. It just has a little bit more of a palatable kind of song structure to it, if you will. I don't know, I've tried to get in Incantation. They just don't do a whole lot for me. I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's neither here nor there. Also really impressive about this album is that it was mixed by Dan Swano, or Svanya, and it sounds fucking massive. It's a really good record, and it's served really well by its overall sonic quality. Next we have a band. I can't remember if I wound up playing one of these records in a video a few videos ago or not, because I wound up reshooting it. Either way, it doesn't matter. This is Fungoid Stream. I have 3 albums from them, and I'm going to be really hard pressed to differentiate any one of them from one another. They were all released on the same label, Furias Productions. But this is a band I really like. They're from Argentina, if I'm not mistaken. And what they're doing is emulating, their sole purpose is to emulate the Lovecraftian kind of Cthulhu mythos. I hope I'm not misquoting that too much. One album is called Prehuman Shapes. Calanus Fragments, and then Oceanus. Now, so what it is it's like Funeral Doom is a pretty apt description, I would say, but it doesn't really go the whole length in trying to recreate an atmosphere sonically all that well. It's got kind of a shitty drum machine behind all of it, and it's got a lot more like kind of keyboardy atmospherics going on than a traditional Funeral Doom record would. But it's got its charm, man. It really, really works well, and they don't really change from album to album. I just eat their shit up over and over and over again. I don't think you can get any of this stuff on vinyl. Honestly, it'd be kind of a waste. I don't know. These guys have their charm, and I really, really dig them, but they're not for everybody. It's unique enough that I really hold them pretty near and dear to my heart, but it's not the kind of thing I'd say I would recommend to the general metalhead public. But it's unique enough that it just might sell you on it. If you're gonna start with one, I guess I would say Prehuman Shapes is the one I go to most often, but I don't think they have released an album in maybe 10 years or so. They just kind of seem to come out of nowhere every once in a while and pop out a new album. They have a side project that's pretty similar to Fungoid Stream, but maybe a lot more, maybe less metal, a little bit more theatrics and atmospheric going on. It's called Quert, Qwhertt. It is also pretty interesting. Next we've got The Autumn Years by Furball. You don't hear this band very often. And by the way, if you have a copy of their first record, I would love to trade or buy a copy off of you. Please hook a friend up. This is a promo on Black Mark from back in the day. Furball are a band that don't get credit for starting with the Carcass template. Man, as you dig back through a lot of the Scandinavian bands, it can't be understated how much of an influence Carcass had on so many of those bands. But what's interesting about Furball, their first record, which I don't have, does have a lot of that Carcass influence. But from early on, even kind of like Zisma, in fact, they were showing some really big temptations to identify themselves as being unique and weird. And then from album to album, they just leaped forward with those ideas, progressing massively. So on the second album, that manifested in kind of playing with the death and roll kind of sound, and that's something Carcass would later kind of do. But I think both Zisma did that before, and Furball was also doing that before Carcass were. I wouldn't say it's to great effect, but I really, really did dig this. Honestly, I would say they're coming from their grindcore roots, finding themselves in kind of a death and roll kind of area, but there are a lot of kind of grunge elements for its time. And if you told me that, I would say I don't want to fucking hear it. But honestly, for some reason, this has just enough charm that it works really well. When I first got this, maybe 2 years ago or so, I listened to this about 3 times in a row, and I was just so fascinating with it. It's an interesting album. No one talks about Furball nearly enough. So next I've got, this band is called Furia, and this album is called Marzana Krolowi Polski, and yeah, you guessed it, they are from Poland. This is the only album I have from these guys, and I need to pick some more stuff up. I remember being really impressed with it way back when it came out in 2012, and I remember seeing a couple more of their releases after this on some year-end lists, but I never got around to picking up more of their stuff, and I put this in a few minutes ago. Really, really liked it. I forgot how good it was. Dave, I know you're watching. Check this out, man. Reminds me quite a bit of Secrets of the Moon. Has that real kind of grim, distant sort of sound to it, but it's well written enough that it's worth the price of admission on it. It's good stuff. Nothing too super original, just it isn't too often that you hear a band with those kind of tropes writing black metal that's really good. So I need to get on and check out some more Furia stuff. Man, this pile has been really a reaching back into 10 or more years ago. So this is Garris with, man, I don't know how you would ever pronounce that. Relly Clover. Garris were a band from the Netherlands. And I remember being really impressed with their only full-length Buswikterige. This is a compilation of 2 demos and 2 like pre-demo tracks from the Buswikterige album, and this stuff is fucking nuts. I can't wait to listen to this more and more. I don't remember it being so weird back when I first got this, but I popped this in not too long ago, and holy shit, it kind of blew my mind. Yeah, this stuff is absolutely fucking bizarre. Pestilence Records put this out. And another weird thing about this, in the booklet it says that Relly Clover was recorded during February 2003, but the music was composed in 92. I do not understand that. Like, I have no reference points for how to describe how bizarre this is. Like, all of you guys into the Zaster or maybe kind of early Leviathan, those are kind of some reference points, but man, Garris is totally its own beast. Mike Seatown, that might be up your alley too. This is an album from Guldur, Morkergang. Guldur is a one-man black metal band out of Georgia. I think he's got 2, maybe 3 full lengths out under his name. Thing is, Darker Than Black put this out, and yeah, I don't support that label whatsoever. I don't know. This is really great shit. I just can't find any correlation between Darker Than Black and the artist. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn about showing this album or even owning a copy of it, but it is a really great album. A lot of people have asked me for recommendations on stuff that sounds like Burzum. Probably not because they don't want to fucking listen to Burzum, but this has Burzum written all fucking over it. Obviously, no one can really quite match his first couple of albums, but I would say the closest thing I've ever heard to Burzum might be this or Rayata. So next, I've got something that I've also already talked about in a video, but I picked this up a couple of months ago. Garden of Shadows with Oracle Moon. Wicked World put out this promo back in 2000. This is really good. If you're into some Swedish sounding kind of Gothenburg kind of stuff, turn of the century kind of hyper melodic black death metal, this is great. They're from the United States though, but don't let that make you think that this sucks, because this is really well done. I bought that on the same day that I bought this Guardgaster with Slit Throat Requiem. So I picked this up. It was super hyped because dude from Becca Nexamu is doing a project with some other dudes, and it is good, but I'll tell you what, I have not returned to it much at all. I don't know, this will probably be on some year-end lists as well, but I don't really know what I think of it. Sonically speaking, I would appreciate it if it were a lot less compressed. It just kind of makes it all sound like one kind of boring song. So I should probably go back and check it out some more, but yeah, it's just kind of there for me right now. It's really hard to get past the production on it. But that brings us to the end of this From the Vaults episode. We are out of the Fs finally and moving into the Gs. So that is it. I hope you check out something that we went through in this pile of weird stuff. I really like this pile. I feel like none of this stuff is shit that you would expect to see on anyone else's channel, and I hope that's why you guys continue watching my garbage. Tune in next time when who knows what the fuck will happen. Bye bye.